Welcome to Beating Cancer Daily. Beating stage 4 cancer for 30 years still takes my breath away every time I say it. I'm Saranne, founder of the Comedy Cures Foundation, and I hope you'll join me for just a few minutes daily for the next 365 days so we may laugh, learn, maybe cry a little as we live our best days beating cancer daily together. This is a sneaky episode. Why? Because we're going to talk about what Jacqui Bryan researched for her doctorate in clinical nutrition. And it's not something that is really discussed. It's really mysterious, and it has to do with your gut. I know a lot of people talk about microbiome, but this is at a whole nother level. So stay tuned. I'm going to bring on Jacqui, and then we're going to get into this. I'm blown away. I got a little bit of preview, and it's just something that if you go to a cocktail party and you start talking about this, people are going to be like, they're really smart. They are smart. So let me bring on our functional medicine expert, whole health educator, certified nutrition specialist, RN, just a fabulous functional medicine advisor for me personally, but who comes on and just sheds so much light on the mind-body connection and how we can do better with our health. Jacqui Bryan.
Hi, Saranne. It took me a while to want to put this into a podcast because it was written in a very technical way and presented to my instructor in class. But I felt like it was so important because I don't know about you, but I actually spent a lot of energy trying to figure out why I got breast cancer 22 years ago. Like, why did this happen?
It's interesting because I think now we're in a better position to trace back environmental conditions, genetics. There's just much better detective work. But 33 years ago, when I was misdiagnosed for 6 years, and 22 years ago, it was like when dinosaurs were roaming the earth and they didn't even see my cancer for 6 years. That's how insensitive the scans were. So I understand why you think about that, particularly as a medical professional. So when you started doing this doctorate, and you're already a certified nutrition specialist, but when you started to get this high-level degree and expertise, you were buzzing about this topic so much while you were researching it. And I'm glad that we can just break it down into layman's terms and really get the dialogue started here.
Buzzing is a great word because so I sort of preface this with I was wondering how I got breast cancer. And I'm not saying that this research is the absolute reason that I got breast cancer, but it actually does complete a little bit of a puzzle for me, right? So if you have ever felt like your hormones were a roller coaster ride, something you didn't sign up for. I remember going on tamoxifen and being in and out of menopause off and on, or just the roller coaster ride that happens with the perimenopause phase, which I'll do the callback you say, Saranne, for the other perimenopausal podcast that we did.
Yeah, that's a really interesting podcast. If you are going in and out of menopause, or you're loving someone who's doing that, or you just want to be educated on what's coming down the pike if you're aging. I was surprised to find out that people could go into perimenopause in their 20s. I did not know that. So the fact that it can really happen earlier was shocking to me. But that's just a great episode to dig into that would complement this one.
It really would. And actually, I liked what you said. It said, if you're aging. I think we're all aging. For those of you out there today that are aging.
Well, we think of Walt Disney, who packed himself in cold temperatures. He is cryo-fried. He is not aging. And that is another episode that we did that's kind of interesting.
Okay, Okay. So this was an aha moment for me, this research that I did. And really what we're doing is we're breaking down estrobolome. Now, I don't expect you to know what this is. It might sound like a Star Wars or Star Trek movie, but it's actually a specific collection of bacteria that's in your gut, and it acts as a regulator for hormones in your body, specifically estrogen.
Will you say that word again? Because I had never heard it before you started researching it. And since people are listening and probably walking their dog, can you restate that word?
Estrobolome. And so it's this little specific collection of bacteria in your gut. And you and I have spoken so often about the importance of gut health. And my curiosity about this estrobolome really stemmed from the fact that I was a kid that always had gut issues. Always. I had a stomach ache, always felt nauseous when I was nervous. I would get diarrhea quickly and easily. I think I had a lot of imbalance in my gut. And so when I started doing research for this paper, it was really exploring the connection between gut dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in gut bacteria, and breast cancer. Like, so is there a connection? That's what I was curious about because it was really the only thing that I could think about that would connect me to breast cancer other than my husband always blaming my first husband.
We do have that first husband's club because I
I know.
got it. Yes, I did develop breast cancer right after I got married to my first husband, which was not a great marriage. So we can blame it on them, Jackie. Sorry to the husband
Gotta
out
point the
there.
finger. Gotta point the finger at
Well,
something.
it does work the other way with wives who are trouble. So we
But that was not us because we were so easy.
my husband tells people I'm an acquired taste. She's an
Oh,
acquired
I
taste.
like that. That's so cute. I don't know what my husband says about me now. My current and final husband. I'm not having any more husbands after this. Just putting it out there. Love my husband to death. We've been together 30 years, married over 25, so we're very blessed.
He's great.
We are digressing. Okay, so I want to back up for just a second to help us understand why this estrobolome is important. We need to think about your inner garden, Saranne. So your inner bacteria. So you are actually a host, not just of this podcast, but actually right now in your gut, there are trillions of little tiny microbes that are living in your home, which is you as the host, and they're kind of like your roommates. When that little bacteria is happy, they actually help you digest food. They keep your skin glowing. They support your immune function. They help with mood regulation. And we actually call this symbiosis. Doesn't that just sound nice? Symbiosis. It's just like a fancy word for saying that you're living in harmony with these bacteria.
I always say that means we're getting along. That's it. We're just getting along.
Yeah, you are living in harmony with all these trillions of little bacteria. And that's exciting, right? But sometimes lifestyle will cause these bacteria to get a little pissed off. And that could be from something like a lot of processed foods, too much alcohol, antibiotics, lots of stress. And what happens is those good bacteria that we want, the ones that are keeping us in symbiosis, kind of move out. And the rowdy, troubled guys kind of move in. And we call this sort of hot mess dysbiosis, right? So I'm trying to paint a picture in a way that there's the good guys and the bad guys. The bad guys kind of overrun the good guys. And now that little garden, that beautiful little garden we were talking about, has grown out of control and the weeds are taking over. And now we need help, right? So the estrobolome that we're talking about is actually a hormone regulator. It's that specific set of bacteria that's actually in your gut. And this, like I said earlier, was such an aha moment for me because the primary job of these special forces bacteria is to help regulate your hormones, specifically estrogen.
Wow. Now I understand why you are so in love with this topic. And I love the way you painted it so visually because most people are listening to this podcast while they're doing something. And I really got a great picture. And it actually feels like we are empowered, right? We can be the gardeners that keep that garden healthy.
Yes, yes, it's so important. And it just connected some dots for me that were so important. And the estrobolome is really the secret controller of your estrogen. I actually was thinking it was more my ovaries or my fat cells or my adrenal glands. And while they play a role in estrogen, the estrobolome plays a vital role in the regulation of the estrogen. And while the rest of your microbiome, the rest of that bacteria is busy breaking down your kale or spinach and fighting off the bad guys, the estrobolome is the elite group or special forces, right? My husband was a Navy SEAL, so I like using that as a as an example, right? The estrobolome is that elite group that focuses entirely on the hormone levels for estrogen. And we don't want it too high and we don't want it too low. We want it just right, which is sort of what Goldilocks said, isn't it, when she went into I'm probably dating myself. Do we still tell those stories to our kids?
About the porridge?
Yeah, Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Yes.
Yes.
Wait,
Okay.
wasn't it the chair she sat in? And then one of the
Uh,
chairs
oh, I think
broke?
we're mixing
I
up the
think you are
stories.
mixing, but it's okay.
Wait,
We still love you, Jacqui.
Oh, no, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. But
Okay,
she
that's
sat in
not
the big daddy's chair, then she sat in
okay,
the mommy's chair, then she sat in the baby's chair, and she
okay,
broke the baby's chair, something like that. I don't know.
okay.
But
Alright, so we'll forget about the porridge.
I'm so fascinated, even though I had triple negative, but decades before they even knew what triple negative was. So I didn't have estrogen involved in my breast cancer, but you did. And
I
so
did.
many
Yeah.
people have estrogen positive cancer,
Mhm.
especially as people age, because remember, we're all aging.
Yes. It's not if, it's when.
So, look at you doing a callback, Jacqui. Okay. So, wow, I love this idea that there's this elite force that's kind of
Yeah. I mean, I
navigating
think
our estrogen. This is mind blowing.
this is another example of how extraordinary our body is. If you think sort of in a perfect world, that estrobolome is your precision thermostat. When your estrogen levels start to climb, the bacteria help turn the dial back down. And when the estrogen level gets a little bit low, it helps regulate it, right? So the drama in the body happens is when that garden gets really messy. We get dysbiosis. Remember, that's the bad guys kind of overruling the good guys, and we end up having difficulty with the regulation of estrogen. And just to understand this actual process of how it works, it's important for us to just take 2 seconds to explain how estrogen is leaving our body, right? So if you think of your liver as kind of a high-end packaging facility, when you have used up your estrogen in the body, the liver packages it, and that process is called conjugation. We don't need to worry about that too much right now, but it adds a little chemical, glucuronic acid or a sulfate, to handle the estrogen molecule, and that makes it water soluble so it can be shipped out of the body through your stool. This is really important. It's why we talk about poop all the time, right? Because we want the poop to to get all the things it needs to get it out of your body. And in a perfect world, that package estrogen, right, that has been sent from the liver through into your intestines is going to exit the body, right, in the form of stool.
That is another great episode. If you haven't heard it, you've got to go listen to your poop story. But see how all these episodes are connecting? And that's why there's over 400 and probably 30 episodes at this point, is because we're all connected. This is one big story,
It
and the
is.
story is you
It,
and how to keep you as healthy as possible. So I love the science behind this, and I can't wait because I know that you're going to tell us how we can impact this.
yes, yeah. We just talked about sort of the good scenario, right? The estrogen gets escorted out of the body. But what if your body or your gut is in a state of dysbiosis where the garden is overgrown with the weeds? Those weeds or bad bacteria produce an enzyme called beta glucuronidase. And I actually call this enzyme the unzipper. And so as that package estrogen travels to the gut, the enzyme reaches out and it unzips the package and it clips the chemical handle off that turns the estrogen back into its active form. So to help with the visualization of this, just imagine these little guys crawling over your trash bag of estrogen, unzipping it, letting the estrogen back out into your bloodstream. And now instead of getting rid of it through your stool, your body's actually recycling it. And your thermostat is stuck on high. And now you have way more circulating estrogen in your body. And that's the problem, right? So it'll get reabsorbed through the gut lining and go right back up into your bloodstream. That process is called enterohepatic recirculation. And why is that a problem? Well, it's a problem because if it happens over and over again, where that estrogen is getting reabsorbed back up into your system, that's where we end up with estrogen dominance. And that's not because your ovaries are making too much. It's actually because your gut won't let the old stuff leave the body through your stool. Again, another reason that poop is so important.
I love this, Jacqui, because I can see that unzipping happening, and that's going to be a visual trigger to me so that if I'm driving by a fast food place, not that I normally stop, but that would stop me from going in and getting fries. Or if I drank, it would curtail my drinking because I would see that unzipping and I would know that I'm contributing to that estrogen starting to circulate through my body. So these are such good visual cues for us to really empower ourselves to make good choices.
It's so true. We need the estrogen to stay in the trash bag. The old estrogen stays in the trash bag to get it out of the body because that total estrogen burden is like keeping the lights on in the room 24/7. It overstimulates the breast tissue, which can lead to cysts, heavy periods. It significantly increases the beta glucuronidase. It significantly increases our risk for breast cancer. And it can even make medications like tamoxifen less effective because the gut is constantly leaking extra estrogen back into the system.
Now, every time I poop, I'm going to go, bye bye, estrogen.
It's so important, right? So when the estrobolome is out of balance, it doesn't just affect the breast, it creates a ripple effect that can impact all the systems that are implicated by estrogen dominance. And so just to give a few examples, there are other conditions other than breast cancer that can be impacted by too much estrogen in the body. Things like endometriosis, polycystic ovary disease, uterine fibroids, even fertility issues. And then we can even take it a step further to look at metabolic and cardiovascular conditions. So estrogen plays a huge role in how we actually store fat and the way we protect our heart. And so if that estrobolome is dysregulated, those protective benefits can turn into risks, right? So insulin sensitivity, obesity, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, cardiovascular disease. And then I even found connections between autoimmune disease because estrogen is actually an immune modulator, meaning it tells the immune system how to behave. So it could have issues with systemic lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. It also has implications for mood, cognitive decline. I don't think there's any part of the body that doesn't take a hit from this dysregulation.
Everyone's talking about the gut-brain connection. Everybody's talking about microbiome. There are so many research labs popping up about this topic, but this specific topic, I have never heard it spoken about, and I find this fascinating. So what can we do, Jacqui, now that we have this information?
Well, it's a great question, right? So we know that this dysregulation is happening and the bad bacteria is kind of overrunning the good bacteria, and that bad bacteria produces the beta glucuronidase enzyme that is unzipping the estrogen, right? So we have to find a way to stop that from happening. And there's a couple different things, lifestyle strategies that we can do that I'm going to talk about in just a second. But the big question I get from people is like, how do I test for this? Like, how do I know if I have this, right? And so traditionally, Western medicine tests are going to be like serum blood tests, and those are really just a snapshot in time. They can do a transvaginal ultrasound to assess for tissue changes, thickness in the endometrial lining. They can do a physical exam. But there are other ways that functional medicine practitioners can test, right? So you can use a GI map or a GI effects stool test that can look specifically for that beta glucuronidase enzyme in your stool. And if the number's high, they're going to know that those unzippers are at work, right? So that's important. There's also the Dutch test, which is a dried urine test that tells us how you're metabolizing estrogen and whether or not you're pushing down the protective pathways that can be potentially problematic. And then even zonulin testing. And this checks for increased intestinal permeability. And those unzipped estrogens can make it much easier back into the bloodstream if the gut lining is impaired, right? So those are just some of the tests that can be beneficial. But if you don't want to do any of those tests, and that's okay if you don't, you can bring in an action plan, right? And so how can you sort of get rid of those unzipper people in your gut lining? Well, you can do that through increasing dietary fiber. If you think of fiber as a broom, the fiber binds to estrogen and speeds up the transit time in the gut. And the faster things move, the less time the enzymes have to do their dirty work of unzippering that trash bag, right? So again, think of fiber as your BFF, right? That broom that's going to get the estrogen out.
And we
Probiotic.
do have that great fiber episode.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you can go back and that's a funny expression, beef up on your fiber.
Yeah. That's so true.
It?
Even probiotics, when we think about gut health, we think about probiotics. Specifically, look for Lactobacillus acidophilus. This particular strain of bacteria is helpful in lowering the activity of those unzipper enzymes, right? So it lowers the pH in your gut, making it more acidic, which makes it harder for that pathogenic bacteria to produce the beta glucuronidase enzyme that is unzippering the trash and letting the estrogen reabsorb. And the last group is one we've done a whole podcast on, which is the cruciferous vegetable group, the sulforaphane vegetables. And those are your broccoli, cauliflower, kale. Those actually help the liver package the estrogen more effectively in the first place. How cool is that, right? So an actual piece of broccoli can help the estrogen go where it needs to go and get out more efficiently. So the broccoli, cauliflower have those natural bodyguards. We call them like the glucurates that actually tell the unzipper to back off and let me get this estrogen out of the body.
I'm blown away, Jacqui.
It is. It's absolutely fascinating. And it's fascinating to learn that your gut is more than just a digestive tube. It's this sort of sophisticated hormonal command center. And if you can take care of your body and make sure that you're feeding the good bacteria, you're doing your body a huge favor other than just reducing inflammation. You're basically reducing your risk for many of those estrogen dominant conditions. And I think that's critical. And that was one of the reasons I was so passionate about this topic, because as the kid that always had the gut issues, this was really interesting to me. The science is really showing us a new way, right? That by fixing the gut, we're not just treating our symptoms, we're systemically impacting our whole overall well-being and health. And it's not about in cancer. Of course, we do all the traditional treatments and things that are recommended by our medical team, but we also need to take some responsibility for finding a way to balance our body. And that's my passion. That's what I do in my practice.
Well, out of your 130 episodes of Beating Cancer Daily, you really take us on a journey of how to eat for our immune system. And when you just called back all those episodes that people could listen to so that you can immediately start eating to enhance this process in your own body. It just makes me feel so empowered. I don't feel like I'm just a sitting duck here.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? It's something that's so simple. Eat clean, move your body, exercise, increase dietary fiber, bring in some probiotics, and enjoy some cruciferous vegetables, right? That's not too painful.
And I love that you also gave us all those tests that we can ask for. And your regular doctor might not know about these tests, but a functional medicine expert would. So even if your doctor doesn't have this information, you can bring the transcript from this podcast and highlight it. And if you get resistance, you're still empowered. You can find a functional medicine expert that would be very versed in these tests and probably not be resistant to helping you find out what's going on in your gut.
Yeah, it's a really great thing to research for your health for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking if your primary just doesn't have the command on this, then you probably have to see a gastrointestinal doctor. But again, there's always functional medicine experts like Jacqui who can help. So I am excited by the research that you've done, Jacqui. I love the way you've presented it. I'm going to tell you something to brag. She got a perfect score
Oh,
on her paper and her research, just to let you know. The instructor was very impressed, and it's a very knowledgeable person in the field. So to impress them and get a perfect score is incredible. But I love that you're always learning. And that's why Beating Cancer Daily is daily, so that 7 days a week we can be informed and just keep working at improving our immune system, keep working at improving our nutrition, regulating our stress. It is a daily podcast because Beating Cancer Daily is a daily activity, and it has kept me healthy for all these decades after being told to get my affairs in order. And I know, Jacqui, it's also kept you healthy. So we just want to bring you all along for the ride wherever in the 148 countries you are listening from. So it's such an honor. Jacqui, thank you so much, and congratulations on this beautiful research and for sharing it in such a digestible way.
thank you, Saranne. It's been a passion project and so much fun being with you today.
I just feel blessed. If you want to reach out and tell us what you're doing to improve your gut health and to help let that not unzipper, you can go to comedycures.org and write to us through the contact menu or go to the podcast section and speak to us. If you want to find the amazing Jacqui Bryan, go to jacquibryan.com. If you can't find her, then come back to me at Comedy Cures. I'll send you her signature. So have a blessed day, and I'll see you tomorrow. If you loved today's episode, then tell the world. Why? Because Beating Cancer Daily is a listener and donor supported experience. So the more people you tell and the more people that join us, the more robust and interesting programs our nonprofit, the Comedy Cures Foundation, can bring to you throughout the year. So if you have some extra change, I'd love you to go to comedycures.org and make a donation today of whatever level is comfortable for you. And it will be tax deductible to the extent allowed by law, because Comedy Cures is a nonprofit 501c3 organization founded from my chemo chair, April 1999, and we've been going strong ever since. So please consider making a donation today and help our community and this podcast thrive. Guess what time it is? It's time for me to read the disclaimer. Beating Cancer Daily and the membership circle are not in lieu of medical advice
or treatment. They are for entertainment purposes only. Please consult your healthcare team to review your best strategy. Thanks for listening. See you guys tomorrow.